Hey folks, Studio here. So for today's daily, we'll be looking at a Lulu top game. To talk about spectator mode really quickly, I'm not going to be using it that much because right now with low replay it doesn't seem to work well if the game does not start at the 0-minute mark. So if I hop into another person's game and something can delay the game at all, it tends to bug. So it is a third-party program. Third-party program and new tech rarely go together well. So maybe an update will happen soon, maybe official replays will come out, but as of this moment we're still stuck on the old stuff. It happens. And for today's daily we'll be looking at a Lulu top game. Now Lulu top is interesting, and I want you to think of when you choose a top laner, what is your goal? This actually doesn't apply to top laners specifically, it could be anybody. When you go mid, what do you want to do? So let's use Olaf as an example. Let's say you're Olaf against Warwick. Eventually, if you're not far ahead, Warwick can beat you, especially just because, man, that Q lifesteals so well, and it essentially nullifies reckless swings. So you want to pressure early, you want to be going for early undertows, going for damage and pressure, making sure you're not in a position to get ganked too. So you want to push, relatively slowly or either quickly, and just make sure you hit a proper point to start going for Warwick and start pressuring, so maybe level 3, maybe even level 1, and either call it your jungler to help gank or just kill him yourself. If you can kill him yourself, that's great. If you call your jungler to gank, you know what? You're Olaf. You could supplement ganks really well with undertow. So that is what Olaf does against Warwick. And just think about that when you go top lane. What do you want to do? What is your plan? What is your goal? Because sometimes you're like, well, I just want to farm and I want to play passively and we can just go ahead and be best friends up the top lane. They may not let you do that. You might be a late game carry in the top lane, like someone like Vladimir, who's just so good in AoE compositions in late game. So they're not going to let you do that. They're going to kill you early. They're going to say, screw you, I want you to die. So think about what you want to do, how you're going to get there, and what you need to get there. Do you need the jungler to gank? If you do, tell them. Do you need a just general support, an early dragon play, so you can go down there, come back top, and get experience with the jungle on your way back up top? Tell that to your team, let them know. But think of what you want to do up there and how you're going to do it. Now, Lulu's skills on their own, they make her a great bully. We'll cover that in the video itself, actually. And that's about it for this intro, so let's go ahead and hop into the replay. So first things first, let's see who's playing who. We have Reboot Camera on Lulu, Xmithy on Orianna, Q1 IMAX on Leona, Wild Canadian Chicks on Udyr, Reboot Mnemonic on Corki, Lol What Are You Doing on Riven, I Kenny You on Kog'Maw, Vile Rose on Jax, Squidlad on Taric, and that guy is playing Twisted Fate. So let's talk about Lulu in the top lane. Let's talk about how you want to play her. So some top laners, for example, let's say Warwick, they wait for a specific time where they can pressure well, and they will just want to farm safely until they reach that point. So Wick wants to hit, let's say, level 5, especially level 6. And you don't really want to be that aggressive. You can't supplement ganks too well. And once you hit 6, you can start doing other things, start being more aggressive. When does Lulu get aggressive? Level 1. At level 1, you want to auto-attack, you want to use Glitter Lance, you want to be a huge jerk, non-stop, and just be in the enemy's face. Now, think about top laners. They're usually melee, and usually they might have a gap closer of some sort, but very specifically, they're melee. So, we have Camera going up against Jax. Think how Jax wants to fight. He wants to leap strike onto you, and if he has enough advantage to kill you, he'll kill you and just keep auto-attacking. If not, he's going to either use Counter-Strike to get some extra damage in, or just back off. So what Camera wants to do is just auto-attack non-stop, always keep up the pressure, and then try to land Glitter Lances for follow-up. So, we're going to see the first engage. Watch how Camera handles it. He lands Glitter Lance, and he actually freaks out and decides to back up and just not auto-attack. That's fine, I understand why. Jax is scary. Jax right now has a much higher auto-attack than Camera. Camera is relying on picks for the auto-attacks. Lulu's passive, so that requires a line of sight between him and Vile Rose, and right now the damage isn't too high. But Camera hit level 2 first. This was because he pushed more, he used Glitter Lance, the creeps died. Now this is a two-edged sword. The creeps are dying first, which means that he's getting more experience, and you'll see him to start pressuring Vile Rose much, much more. right there, that was Help Picks and Glitterlance combined. It essentially guarantees Glitterlance landing. And the problem is, he's pushed up now. So if you don't have enough pressure, if the enemy isn't low enough, this is a time where the jungler could gank. So you'll see Camera, he hugs the bushes, he's in the top lane, he's off to the side. He doesn't want to be anywhere near river. He's still susceptible to a gank from the top lane, or from his top lane. But if you see someone come from river, well, he was so far to the side, he had Transmorgify, and he was able to speed himself up, that it didn't matter. So that is just kind of how top works at the beginning. There is that trade-off. Do you push out? If you push out, you'll have more experience, you can pressure more, because you'll be hitting level 2, level 3 before the enemy, and that's a good time to pressure, but you'll be gankable. So, is Lulu gankable? Somewhat. She has her W for an escape, and that's a really good escape. If she lands a Q on you, which is Glitterlance, she will not catch you. Or you will not catch her. And as you can see, it's kind of the same thing here. Like, look at them, they're so close, they're so close. But they can't actually catch up because of Glitterlance, because she W'd to get away, and Valrose had a blow flash. This actually leads to Lol, what are you doing getting caught in here, just because, well, Looter saw that he was up top, was able to put himself in a position to catch her in river, and Lol walked right on in there trying to get back to that jungle, and alas, he died. Now, think of what Valrose was doing when Riven was nearby. He would use Counter-Strike, and he would try and jump onto Camera. Now, this is something we're not going to see anymore. Riven's pretty much done in the top lane. I don't know if that was anger, or if he just decided, you know what, it's not going to work up there. Camera's just too hard to kill, because Lulu's very hard to kill in the top lane. So, what was Valrose doing when Riven was nearby? He would activate Counter-Strike and he would run up. You need to look for those signs. You need to look how the enemy's going to play, because some enemies will be very, very subtle about how they start fights. But if you see an aggressive play that just doesn't make sense, which in this case, the Empower Counter-Strike was just entirely defensive because he ran away. If you see an aggressive play, then think, why would they do that? If it doesn't make any sense because of their skills on their own, then chances are there's something else up. And that, in most cases, can be a jungler. It's kind of like when you see someone run up really far away, it's like, well, why'd they run so close to me? It's probably because there's another guy in the bushes waiting to kill you. But with Riven gone on the top lane, it's going to be Camera just harassing nonstop. Now you'll notice that Udyr is in the top lane, ready to kill Jax. The flash was down. He used it trying to initiate onto Camera. And watch how Udyr baits this. He's going back. The TF ult disappears. He runs forward. So Valrose thinks he's alone with Camera. He immediately jumps onto him the second he thinks he's backed, while Canadian Chicks just comes and catches Valrose. And I love that play. I love that play from Wild Canadian Chicks. And this is how you kind of play the top lane. Top lane's weird, because you can ward, you can be defensive, you can kill the other top laner on your own. But when it comes to jungle ganks, it's not so much that you catch them by surprise. It's more about the mind game. It's more about the situation where you set up where the enemy thinks they will be safe, and you kill the hell out of them. Now, of course, there's always a repercussion. In that case, Udyr was in the top lane. Had this been a couple minutes from now, we could have actually seen the away team go ahead and just sneak in a dragon, because Udyr in the top lane means he's not near dragon. However, that was not the case. It's still the 8-minute mark. Doing dragon is not easy, especially because Lol, what are you doing, did die. So, it was safe. At this point, though, we're not going to see Camera let up the pressure. He has no reason to. Valrose can try and jump on him. If he lands a Glitterlance, as you can see, the Counter-Strike won't land. There's just not much he can do. And this is the position you want to be in as a top laner, where you are applying pressure, and the enemy can try and stop you. He might deal some damage, but it doesn't matter. It just isn't enough. Like, even with Camera missing that Glitterlance, he's still winning these damage trades just because he's able to keep auto-attack and keep using the fact that he's ranged and abuse it. Now, there is that balance when you're a ranged character. You can auto-attack and try and be aggressive, but if there are too many enemy creeps, you can take more damage from creeps. So in this case, Camera has a decent chunk of armor, not massive, but something nice. And instead of focusing on harassing, he'll push in and use a quick bit of aggression. We see Twisted Fate is in the bot lane, we see Jax in the bot lane. Camera did call that in chat. And what do you do in this case? Well, you're alone in the top lane. You want to push up as much as you can. And if you can't push up that much, if you can't do a whole lot, it's unfortunate, but some characters just aren't good at pushing. If there's a Warwick and you see someone roam across the map and he doesn't have a Wriggles, he will not push in. He will not get that tower just because he is such a bad pusher. Counterpoint, if it's Vladimir, that tower will take quite a bit of damage. So he's doing well against Valrose. Valrose just can't do anything, but you'll notice that the score is 5-6. Even though camera's 1-0-1, bot lane is not going well. Mid lane is going fine, but bot lane is actually in a really bad position. So he can beat up Valrose every day. Valrose can't do anything. But if Kog'Maw gets out of control, that might be scarier than Jax getting out of control. And deciding when to go ahead and roam is an incredibly difficult decision. And you got to think of the implications of roaming to a different lane or roaming towards bottom. We see Dragon's been taken as a result of that bottom gank. So if Camera leaves his lane now, the only thing he can really accomplish is getting kills, maybe securing an enemy buff. Now, those things are nice and all, but is it worth it? And the general answer is no. The counterpoint, by the way, to having a jungler in the top lane, the exact opposite would be having the top lane at Dragon. This is the exact opposite, and some people, like I said before, can take advantage of it by pushing and taking the tower. Some can't. So if you know that they have a slow pusher, that is your chance, unless there's someone who's going to farm and get out of control. And we see another gank top from Udyr. And the question is, well, how does this work? Why does Valrose die here? Despite having the flash up, despite being someone who, well, he has good move speed, but he doesn't have great escapes, just the amount of CC and the fact that he was not near his tower when Udyr showed up meant one Glitter Lance was all that was needed to keep him in place to die. And you have to be careful with skills like this. So in the case of Valrose, we have Lulu. If she lands a Glitter Lance, that's an 80% slow. So even if Udyr is spotted by a River Ward, if you get hit by that as he shows up, you might die just because there's enough CC coming out there where you're not going to be in a good position. Now let's just take a moment to appreciate Lulu. That is a cool model. Look at that flying. That floppy phallic hat. That is a phallic hat. Wow. It is late at night, but that is a very phallic hat. Anyhow. We're back in the top lane. Camera can just pressure Jax to hell and back. He's walking into enemy bushes. He doesn't care if Jax hits him right now. Jax, by the way, a good way to prevent him from doing too much damage, make sure that when he's jumping on you to fight you, he doesn't have auto attacks from the creeps. He doesn't have his passive built up. That will make him that much weaker just because it's 30% attack speed versus not, I believe. Exact numbers, not possibly right. So even though Jax is someone who, if he jumps on you, he's scary, Camera doesn't care. He knows he always has that heal, he always has that backup. And for a good example of how Camera plays Lulu, look at his Twisted Fate. Now just think about what just happened. He's going to do it again. But what he did was he used help picks, he landed Glitter Lance, he maybe got 1 or 2 auto attacks off, but his focus isn't going ahead and going all in. It's all about just getting a tiny bit of poke off. So rather than going to play like, Annie who will blow a bunch of spells, Camera's trying to just go ahead and land a couple and get you into a kill zone or just later on get control. So there, he lands 2 spells, he lands an auto attack, he lands Ignite, and just backs off. It's not about bursting people down, it's all about the sustained control and sustained damage. And Lulu's someone who can pull it off quite well. So with that death cap, he's going to have quite a bit of burst. He might be able to kill someone in one shot, but at a minimum, if he can land a Pix, not necessarily even Glitter Lance, a help Pix, that can set up all his other skills to land, with that Death Fire Grasp, he can get some good damage off. And he's not going to kill anybody in one combo, but he will put them in a position to either go back, or they will die the next time he lands Pix, even with that Death Fire Grasp down. And this is another case of Lulu roaming, and think to yourself, did he really do that much? Can he really do that much? If he does kill Kog'Maw, that's a nice bit of gold. I mean, he is legendary, but it doesn't really change anything. He might get farther ahead, but his team's going to be in the same position. So he really wants to go back top. He wants to make sure that Jax doesn't get too much farm, that he can pressure him, and he can make sure that when the other lanes do need help, he can roam out of there. This is an unfortunate little exchange just because Valrose messed up the flash. It just happens sometimes. And when that happens, you just kind of you roll with it. You go, oh man, that sucks, and hopefully it doesn't happen again. Valrose knew he made a mistake. He knows that he freaked out and tried to flash too early. And when you make those mistakes, by the way, just go, oh, why did I mess up? How can I fix it? Let's not do it again. Don't freak out. If you die, well, it sucks. If you lose the game because of it, well, it really sucks, but whatever. In truth, that's the final reaction. It doesn't really matter that much. So learn from it. Don't let it happen again. So that the time it could matter, you're ready and you're prepared. But bot lane's doing so much better than the rest of the away team, and top lane's doing better than the rest of the home team. Who's more important, Lulu or Kog'Maw? And that's an interesting question. Think of Lulu's role in team fights. So we saw the poke combination coming out from camera. What about her other skills? Her transmorgify, polymorph speed up, or her ult? Those are two skills that he didn't use in those exchanges. He was using EQ to land damage, but he wasn't using W or R because they don't do damage. Now, what is he going to do with those skills? He's going to go ahead, he's going to protect Corki, he's going to make sure Corki does not die, possibly Udyr, just that there is someone who is either tanky and in the enemy team, or Corki and he's being dove on, and he will not die. So that is his role as a support. Aside from that, he's just going to go ahead and catch people with the EQ combo. That's how this fight started out. We see that while Canadian Chicks gets ulted by him, and it's just all about the fight control. He's not dealing a whole lot of damage himself. He's dealing decent poke, it's good, but it's not what wins these team fights. What won that team fight? TF being slowed to the point where Leona could get her ult off, they could chase him down, and they could just have this long chase fight going on. Valrose jumps in the last second, does not quite work, and he does die in the end. So we see a push coming out from home team. Now camera's 504. Think about how he hit 504. Those first two kills on Riven and Jax. So Jax, why did that work? Well, Jax was being pressured so much that he had to go ahead, flash stun onto camera, and unfortunately he couldn't get the kill there. So he did not have a flash up, he did not have a kill to make up for that flash. He was at worst for on the camera, and Jax ganked. The assists are going to start flowing in for camera now. So you notice that he does good damage, but it's 7 to 10 seconds before either of those spells are back up. So that damage can be high, but it doesn't necessarily matter that much. But he will keep people in place. He will slow them. He'll make sure Castro does not have any chance of getting away because he'll use that ult. And the role shifts. And I like that. I like that Lulu has two separate roles as a top laner. She will be a fight controller later on, and you can notice that every time she lands an EQ combo, whoever it lands on is going to die because of how slow they are. And in the early game, she is just a huge, huge bully. And just look out for the EQ combo. Just put that out there. Look out for it because that is why Lulu is so good. Even with that flash, Valrose gets caught. Now, Valrose is likely to get away because he has Counter-Strike, he has Squid Lad, but it doesn't matter. They blew the flash. They blew one of his ways to get in there and kill Corki. They have a team that if they get to Kog'Maw, they will win the fight. The enemy team, even if they get to Corki, it doesn't really matter that much because you know what? Lulu's going to have that ult, that defense. And despite the fact that her mana costs are higher now, it doesn't really matter. It's truly an okay change. It's not a big nerf. It just means that, well, she's a little weaker in some situations. And we're setting up for a final push. And I just want you to look at what Lulu does in these fights. She is not going to be a burster. She's not going to be a tanky DPS. She's going to make her team win by just being there and making sure that they are the tanky DPS. You make tanky DPS a Lulu. You aren't a tanky DPS. It's like where heroes aren't born, they're made. Well, in this case, tanky DPSs aren't chosen. They are produced by Lulu. And as the tower goes down, as pushing is going out, we see people start showing up, start trying to apply pressure and apply damage. And Cameron, he just goes ahead and tries the line of Glitter Lance. He's not trying to get tower aggro. He's not trying to make a successful dive. He's just trying to go ahead and start slowing people. And we see a great Leona ult come out. What is Fred's reaction? What is he trying to do right now? He ults Leona. Now, is that a good idea? Well, for HP, no, because who cares if Leona's tanky? You want someone like Rogue to be protected. But it's all about the CC, it's all about the fight control. You see the help picks land on low, what are you doing? You see that he's trying to get slows on anybody he can. And just make sure that the enemy team can't escape. Now, why are these fights working? Why is the fed Kog'Maw not killing everybody? Well, frankly, it doesn't matter that he's fed just because the enemy team is so good at diving on him. So in this case, how do they get to Kog'Maw? Leona. It's all about Leona. And the question is, who wins in a fight between a late game Lulu and a late game Kog'Maw? Who cares is the answer. The answer is going to be whoever can go ahead and make a team composition better against the other character. So in this case, we have a Leona who can go ahead and just EQ onto Kog'Maw, use her ult from far away, and just catch him, or catch the rest of their team. What can Kog'Maw do? Well, if Leona doesn't land her combo, if Lulu doesn't land a slow, if Leona doesn't land her ult, he's safe. But that's not what's happening. Now, what are you doing gets caught here, and this is just kind of one of the effects of solo queue. We see the snowball effect happen, where one person tries to help, and other people start getting punished. So, Kog'Maw's at half health. We see Camera protecting Xmithy against Valrose, and once again, it's just that very supporty style role where it's like, well, we could go kill Valrose. I just want to make sure Xmithy survives though, because we can clean up everybody else in the team if he's still alive, just because we have that speed up from Xmithy. By the way, I like the Orianna Lulu combo, just so much speed up, so much mobility between these two characters. And here we are with the final push. They got two people out of control. And they're able to clean up the game and win. And this was Studio, taking a look at Reboot Camera's Lulu. I will see you guys in a couple days. Adios, folks.